Read the agenda.
Meredith, this is Bobby went upstairs. Yeah. Okay, we are live.
Okay, thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If people would remain standing, I'd like to have a moment of silence for a dear friend who passed away recently, Lou Marquette, who was part of Leyland Alliance and who developed Warwick Grove as we know it, a beautiful neighborhood in our village. So if we could bow our heads. Thank you.
Trustee Cheney?
Here.
Trustee Foster?
Here?
Trustee Calora?
Here.
Trustee McKnight?
Here.
Mayor Newhart?
Here.
Stephen Gatto?
Present.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes of March 4th, 2024?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to accept the following reports of February 2024, the Clerk's Office, Justice Department, Planning Department, Building Department, and Department of Public Works.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for authorization to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $292,023.46.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Chief, do you have a report for us tonight?
No report. Did I send you a report yet, Tom? I don't think I
I
did.
don't think so.
I'll send it to Tom. No, other than I just want to thank the board for the approvals for National Night Out in August, and I especially want to thank Jen for her help. Even though I've done this 3 years now with the application process, I was that guy acting like it was the first time. So, she was very helpful, and I appreciate the board's support in this.
Great. And I want to just thank your force yesterday for just making people safe. And, we had a St. Patrick's Day parade that was quite wonderful and well received. A lot of people came out, and so I just appreciate just what you do.
My pleasure. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, I know.
It's nice to have fun sometimes.
Thank you. Do we have a representative from Jewel?
Yes, this is Glenn. Glenn has joined us before. I was looking at my notes, I believe September was last time we talked. So as you come up, Glenn, will you need to
Yeah, is there an issue?
present? Yes, we can do that. It's that white cord. Yeah, as you get set up, Glenn, so it's taken a while, but we've come a long way.
And then the remote should be. And then it'll be
number
HDMI
one.
1.
All right.
And Glenn, would you mind pushing the monitor just slightly so those in the audience can also see? Yeah. There you go. We can also kind of see it.
Great.
Good. So Glenn, what's new
Yes.
here? Since the last time you've been here, we've taken step one and enacted local law number 1 of 2024, which gives the board the right to pursue community choice aggregation. So
Yes.
my understanding is that step one took a little longer than I had anticipated, but here we are.
Yeah.
So we've taken the first steps. Curious about what lies next for us, and thank you for your patience with us.
Yeah, no worries. It's your program, and we're just here to support. So that's what I'll do tonight. Is I'll just do a little bit of it. Does help to do a little bit of a review, and I'm not sure everybody was here last time, but I'll go quickly through that because I know you already kind of have discussed that and passed your law. So I'll talk a little bit about next steps beyond that, and just a little bit of catch up on sort of where these programs are, and just give a little bit more detail about the steps and kind of what's involved. And unless there's any questions off the top, then I'm happy to do that first. Okay. So just a little bit about Jewel. We are a CCA administrator or program manager in New York State. We're also an energy efficiency company throughout the country, or clean energy and energy efficiency company throughout the country and in Europe as well. And really it's a very simple mission, which is to help communities like the Village to achieve your stated sustainability objectives. CCA, which we're going to focus exclusively on tonight, is one very powerful driver towards those goals, but there are others, and I'll also just, bless you, I'll also just brush on it. If there's questions about this, you can take them as well. You can feel free to interrupt me at any point. But one thing also is that we're also supporting communities specifically to take actions, what the state is calling high impact actions, towards grants, a grant program that has been around for several years but just got recapitalized this year with a new $25 million tranche. So, and those grants are sort of flying off the shelves, so to speak, as far as NYSERDA is telling us. So we want to make sure that you understand that CCA comes with a lot of points towards that grant, as well as community solar campaigns too, which we support communities, our client communities with achieving their goals in community solar as well. So very simple vision, clean energy for all. That really means, it's a short vision, of course, but it means transitioning, supporting the transition to clean energy that the New York State has now mandated through law, and affordability and universal access, right? All of that is compiled into quite a short or succinct kind of goal there. Just again, a little bit about Jewel. And not that you're going to be able to read those logos on the bottom, but we now represent 58 municipal clients throughout New York State, over 800,000 New Yorkers represented, and quite a bit of power per year that we are supporting. I'll talk a little bit about the opportunity that the Village has to join a much larger group of municipalities here in the Hudson Valley that's going to be going out for bid for electricity supply a little bit later this year. But just to say that CCA now makes up 30%, more than 30% of the competitive renewable market in New York State, which is pretty remarkable considering CCA itself is only it's going to be about 8 years old. I can always remember, because my son was born the day before we awarded the first contract, and he just turned 8. So I always know how old CCA is by that. I'll just keep, and you can see here, our programs have helped avoid over 150,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. I know that's sort of one of those kind of numbers that it's hard to make context of, but it's quite a bit.
Could I just ask a
Yes,
question? What do you
please.
mean by voluntary consumers?
Well, there's I'll do the short version. There's essentially two types of renewables markets in most states like New York. There's what's called compliance, which means the renewables that utilities and other suppliers have to buy to meet a certain renewable portfolio standard, or what we call the clean energy standard in New York. And then there's everything else, which is the voluntary, which are customers throughout New York, large and small, that choose to be renewable, right? So the utilities have to be 3 or 5% renewable, and it sort of steps up every year. And then there are other customers like municipalities that do CCA that want to be renewable, and therefore they go for 50 or 100% renewable content over and above what's available in the local grid, which is nearly 90% fossil. So that's what's meant by voluntary. Just another brief overview on what is community choice aggregation. It is a state-regulated policy and program that enables municipality to determine the default electricity or natural gas, but today we're talking about electricity supply, the source of the supply, not the delivery and the maintenance of the grid. That's still Orange and Rockland, but the source of the supply on behalf of your residents and small businesses. Why is New York promoting this program. One is affordability and stabilization of rates, which includes potential savings. Second is to advance the statewide goals towards the transition to clean energy. And third is customer protection. Competitive electricity markets, not just in New York, but pretty much everywhere, have been pretty hit and miss in terms of the sort of practices. And New York has cracked down quite a bit on suppliers. So they put a regulation around CCA to help municipalities protect consumers but still access those same markets and those same opportunities out there that are alternative choices to the default utility. And in that way, the municipality can sort of reverse the retail market rather than just be price takers, as if you or I went to go shop for electricity on our own, we're just price takers. We really have to, there's a whole bunch of offers out there in the market. It's very difficult to distinguish between them, and we certainly don't have any say in terms of the terms of the contract that we're signing. With CCA, it's just the opposite, right? It's our contract. I'll talk a little bit about our contract in just a minute, but it's been vetted now by, I think, 60 plus municipal attorneys in multiple states and all that. So it's a really airtight, consumer protective document. And we determine through the RFP the terms and the sources and the price we're willing to pay for electricity. So we're able to sort of invert the power dynamic in the competitive retail electricity market through an aggregated model. So again, just to, what CCA is really all about in terms of benefit. Local control, it's you determining, it's the village determining, not the utility, not the state, but the locality, down to the local. But it's still always about consumer choice. So the village will make some decisions, some important decisions about the shape of the program. But ultimately, it is always up to the individual consumer to make the final choice, whether to participate or not, which product option, should there be multiple product options, which product option to enroll in. There's never any penalties for jumping in the program or out of the program, right? So it's always their free choice to move in. They can also take any other choice that's out there in the market, including all the other competing offers. But CCA has shown a consistent ability to fetch a much better and more competitive price from suppliers than individuals would be able to get on their own. It's not always lower than the utility rate, but it is consistently across the board lower than what customers could get on their own.
So you said multiple options.
Yeah.
So the board, in deciding to join something, would be able to offer multiple options to its residents?
That's right. So typically we offer up to 3 options depending on your preferences. One would be a stabilized conventional product, which is similar to ORU's sort of fossil, even though theirs is a monthly, and we'll look at ORU rates in just a second, but theirs is a monthly variable. So this is a stabilized rate, but it's, in terms of the source, it's similar to ORU, mostly fossil. Then there's a 50% New York State renewable product, and then a 100% New York State renewable product. The vast majority, so all but one of our current client contracts have either a 50% renewable or a 100% renewable choice as the default. But then individual consumers can choose and toggle between all of those choices.
Thank you.
It's their free choice. Yeah.
And just for folks' background that may not be familiar with how this works, when we have our electric bills now, every month the rate may change.
Yep.
It's variable. But what this does is it enables us to combine our purchasing power with other entities and then go out to market and have power providers compete for our business, and then we negotiate, we have a stabilized rate for the contract period.
Exactly.
And then when the contract period is up, then we get to kind of decide whether we're staying with our same configuration or we might adjust. Like that's when other municipalities might be able to join us, right, or leave. And then we go back out and we negotiate they compete for the right to do business with us, and then we have our stabilized rate.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm laying out today, and it's ultimately the village's choice, of course, but what I'm laying out today is a timeline. In just a minute, we'll get to a timeline that allows you to sync up with a whole bunch of other communities in Orange and Rockland territory, as well as in Central Hudson territory across the river, who are all going back out to bid this year. So this is this is the monthly, and you'll see it starts in November 2020 up through the end of 2023. This is and it's been the last 2 years especially, and we're now about 2 years plus from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That really globally sent energy markets, natural gas, and then ultimately electricity markets as well, wholesale and retail electricity markets, into a sort of crazy cycle where you see a steady climbing and then a pretty precipitous decline thereafter. And you see this is the monthly variability. From 16, literally in 1 month can go from 16 cents, this is ORU the last few years, from 16 cents to 4 cents. It's quite unpredictable. In New York State, unlike other states, we have no future visibility into utility rates. You find out what you've paid for your utility, for your electricity, after you've already used it, once you open up your bill, right? So you don't have any way to plan. CCA gives a stabilized rate, and these are the different product options that we just spoke about, these different dotted dashed lines. So these fixed lines are the CCA rates. This red line is the monthly ORU rate. This is the previous contract. You'll see there the ORU rate was, for the most part, above the CCA rate for basically the full term of the contract, especially the last year, and that's pretty typical. You tend to stay pretty competitive with the utility rate the first year or so, and then really as utility rates escalate and over the course of history, utility rates do tend to just continue to escalate up. We did see a pretty stark correction though, and have seen some lower rates for ORU, especially the last 5-6 months. This was actually the warmest winter on record. And when you have a milder than expected winter, you have lower than expected demand, especially for natural gas and for electricity, especially those that have electric heat. And that keeps prices low, which is what we've seen from ORU. So for the last few months, we've seen, for the most part, the ORU rate be a little bit lower than the CCA rate has been, right? That's actually changing a little bit early to 2024. It got back up to about 11 plus cents, but that's just so you can get a sense of sort of the performance of the program. Customers that have been in since the beginning are still saving, right? So they're still better off being in the CCA program with a renewable product than they would have been with a variable and unpredictable ORU rate. But the most recent history is that the CCA rate has stayed a bit above the Orange and Rockland rate. I just wanted to make that clear, because that
What was the effect of that on the customers opting out?
We've seen an uptick in opt-out, so which, by the way, it shows that it works, right? This is a choice, right? So when people are saving, we see people come into the program, over time, and when people aren't saving, or aren't saving as much or at all, you see people tend to leave the program. And so that's what CCA is all about. It offers an alternative, right? Nobody's stuck in there. Anybody can leave, go back to the utility anytime they want, or any other supplier if they think they can get a better deal.
So Blaine, can you help me understand, and I've gotten a question about this, what does it take to opt out?
Yeah, so...
What exactly does someone have to do?
Yeah, so the idea is that we make it really easy, right? We're really not trying to hold people in the program. There are 3 ways that people can opt out. They all take about 2 minutes. The first is by phone. So we maintain, I'll talk a little bit about our customer care center in just a moment, but we maintain our own customer care center that respond to every phone call and email we get from a customer. That's Monday through Friday, normal business hours. It's our staff, it's our trained folks, it's not an outsourced call center or anything like that. It's not the utility, it's not the supplier, it's us that are staffing those those or responding to those calls, all folks that we've trained. So that's number one. Second is an online web form.
Hang on, Glenn. So
Yeah.
with number one, by phone, let's say through the education process, everyone has this phone number.
Yeah.
They call up, I'm Tom McKnight, here's my whatever account number on my O&R bill,
Yep.
right? Because they get the same bill. Then what?
That's it. That you're done. So that what happens behind the scenes is that we then process that through our customer portal. We send those names and account numbers to the utility, and the utility takes you off the CCA and puts you back on their service, right? So that's just the
When?
mechanics
Next
of it.
month's cycle?
Yeah, how long is that take?
It'll usually, unless it's right before your next meter read, it'll be for the next cycle. If it's right before your next meter read, it'll be the following cycle. So it just takes a few days to process, that's the idea.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Briefly, again, New York State has a climate laws of 2019. I'm sure you guys have heard all about it.
Well, hold on, you were gonna go through the other two ways.
Oh, excuse me. So the second way is a web form. Same thing. You go to you put in your name and your account number, and your address, and that goes through to our customer care center as well. We process it from there. And then the third is a prepaid postcard that will come with the program notification that will go to every eligible customer in the village before the program starts. And if they send that back, it's got their information loaded in. If they send it back in the mail, prepaid, they'll be opted out as well. So any of those ways are available at any time.
Thank you.
Again, so towards the New York State goal of 70% renewable electricity by 2030, which by the way, we are behind in pretty significantly, and 100% carbon-free by 2040, CCA has been established as a real key policy driver of doing that, of pushing the empowerment and the autonomy down to the local level. We've seen some really steady growth in CCA throughout New York State. Just looking at some of the programs that we've worked on in Westchester County, which was the first program, CCA program, started with 20. I worked on that program for about a year and a half. I was the program director when we launched in 2016. We started with 20, that program's now up to 31. In Central Hudson territory, we started in 2019 with 10. We're now up to 14, and similar in Orange and Rockland territory. So we've seen steady growth across several electricity supply contracts over a period of 8 years. Again, and I can go quickly because I know you guys have a packed agenda, and we're already taking up some of your time here, but these programs, again, they have increased the renewable energy content, reduced carbon footprint, increased customer value and protections, and empowered communities to meet their sustainability goals, including New York State grants like the Clean Energy Communities. The last contract, again, this contract hasn't performed quite as well. The last contract, which ended in 2022, saved $17 million across the two programs here in the Hudson Valley. We took a look at that. So here, I know this is what you really wanted to get to today. What are the next steps now that you've passed your local law? First is to select your CCA administrator. We hope it's us, but there are others, right? So, but until you do that, the state doesn't really recognize the program, right? And what I mean by that is there is a mandated public outreach and education period that comes before you're able to go out to bid and for electricity supply. It's at least 60 days. And there are some really pretty rigidly regulated activities that you must do within that 60-day and document properly and submit to the regulators. Until you have a CCA administrator, like they won't count, even though I'm here educating the community and it's publicly available, they don't count this as public outreach and education because you don't have a CCA administrator yet. So that's the first step. The second step is that 60-day public outreach and education period. We do events, information sessions. we do social media, we do ads in local press, we do radio, we do posters around the village. It's really sort of an all of the above strategy because not everybody has access to the internet, not everybody reads the paper, not everybody does anything, right? And so we try to catch people where they are and just really spread our outreach and education out pretty thin over that 60-day period to make sure everybody has a chance just to learn about the program, call us, email us, what have you. And then once you get through that, then it's time to go out to bid. So it's an RFP process that we manage on behalf of all the municipalities. We work with all the suppliers and encourage them to bid, give them the insight as to what the village and the other municipalities are looking for. We collect those bids, we evaluate them, we make recommendations, we come back to you with those recommendations, and then you'll have the opportunity to discuss as a board and make that decision. Yep.
I think maybe it was the last time you were here, we talked about some of the other services that get provided by the CCA administrator.
Yeah.
And one of the things, so am I correct in understanding that the CCA administrator could support us in pursuing elective pay opportunities and exploring, solar options on, some of our big buildings
Yeah.
and other ways that we might be able to introduce energy savings and cost savings.
Absolutely.
Solutions.
Today I'm here just to try to keep it focused on the CCA electricity supply procurement, but we provide community solar services, as I mentioned, development originations, project origination services for solar and battery storage, especially, also EV charging. We work with communities to try to get available grants, both state and federal. There's a lot of actually federal funding for all sorts of opportunities, including tax credits or payment in lieu of tax when you don't have tax liability like a municipality wouldn't. If you're to develop, and there's also state grants for development, the NYSERDA offers up to $200,000 to support the pre-development of projects, like if you wanted to put solar on a roof or a landfill or
And don't they have also some programs where you can run a pilot? They are doing investigations with oh my gosh, I just blanked. The geothermal, but not just geothermal, but where they are looking at, generating electricity based on the thermal production of the wastewater treatment facility and the hospital, and the NYSERDA is providing funding to support those kinds of investigations.
Yeah, there's NYSERDA, say what you will about NYSERDA, but NYSERDA has been really good about program development around a number, both innovative, energy efficiency, new generation, especially storage has been a big one in the last few years. And they're promoting that both through just money, right, of making money available, but also through sort of curating programs like Clean Energy Communities is a good example, where they're sort of providing there's money there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, to use the St. Patrick's Day appropriate metaphor, but they're also providing guidance on sort of which actions that the state finds most impactful, and they're ranking them with concrete, quantifiable points. You get this many points for doing that, and you get this many points for doing that, and if you get X number of points, accumulate them, you get this much money, and so on and so forth. So they're really sort of providing a lot of guidance through the programming to especially to municipalities throughout the state.
And before you move on, my understanding of the way that Jewel would be paid, or the CCA administrator would be paid for project development.
Yeah.
It would come through the actual development process with the final engineer selection and the contracting. So similar to the way that we would contract with the power provider, and the CCA administrator is paid through that relationship. that the entity that is supporting us through those project development opportunities is ultimately paid in the same way.
Exactly, so we
Okay.
never collect any consulting fees from the municipality, ever, on any of these, on any of the services that we're talking about. We're always paid by a third party, that's just the model. So if it's electricity supply, it's whatever supplier is selected pays us. And if you don't go through with it, then there's no payment due or anything like that. We only get paid in the event that a third party is awarded. Same thing for solar development or anything like that. We get paid an origination fee after they've been awarded.
So in the case, for example, with elective pay, because the thing that, I'm wondering how this is all in compliance with the 2 CFR procurement requirements, because, and how, so if, let's say we do elective pay and we want to do like a big solar farm, and you all help us design that program in such a way as we're going to maximize the incentives that come to us from the Treasury, and then you help us develop the RFP
Yep.
that ultimately becomes the design and construction for the project, and they pay you.
Yep.
And that's all compliant with the federal regulations for procurement, the 2 CFR. Because
Yeah.
anything that we do through grants is going to have to be compliant with the 2 CFR Part 200. And that's all competitive procurement.
Yeah,
And it's not like a kickback or anything. It's all, and this is all happening in other places.
yeah, exactly, yes. The short answer is yes, so.
Just have to
Um,
read it.
yeah.
You have to read it all. like what that looks like, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
we
know
can.
if that's, yeah.
Yeah, we could take that separately and really walk through what that process
That would be
looks
good.
like. Absolutely.
Wait,
again, we-
sorry, so you would be like a sub-consultant for
Yeah.
that provider?
Well, we're a consultant of the village.
Right, but then
Right.
the way you're paid through that contract is like they're paying you like you're a sub-consultant.
Yeah, because what we're
And,
essentially.
and all of them would have you, and I guess that's how that becomes
Yeah,
compliant.
it's the same for everybody,
Okay.
there's not like, oh, if this one wins, we get paid X amount, and if that one wins, they're not bidding a payment, right, it's a flat payment.
Correct, okay, all right, I get it now.
Yeah, okay. Again, there's an initial 60-day outreach campaign, community meetings, local media, all that stuff we've talked about. Ongoing program support through the life of the program, through our call center and our great staff. I have to say they've become expert in these programs. They take thousands of calls, and they really are really sharp and effective in talking people through this. And then we provide a community, so we're not an energy broker like, hey, we're here to run a RFP and then we'll see in 2 years when you're ready for the next one. We provide ongoing program updates of events. You know, we come back and do these sorts of meetings to let people know how the program's going, and then we're offering additional advisory services as the village sort of develops their own preferences. Just a little bit about the RFP. Really, the RFP is designed for maximum flexibility. There's no predetermined outcomes here. We allow the suppliers to compete. It's a true competitive process. They're competing on price, term, product, and then of course we're evaluating them on their own expertise. But all of what the RFP is designed for is to cast a pretty wide net, but we're always looking to stabilize prices, we're always looking to maximize renewable content, and we're always looking to stabilize and keep the price low. I think in the interest of time, I'll send you through these slides, of course, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. Again,
Glenn, real quick,
yeah.
is it, what's the length of term for the contracts, 2 years?
So the RFP will allow suppliers to bid anywhere from 1 year, from 12 months to 60 months, 5 years. Now typically, the sweet spot's around 2 years, 24 months. That tends to be the right sort of blend of price and
Okay,
length.
thanks.
And again, a renewable CCA supply contract can earn the village up to 1,700 points in the Clean Energy Communities program. Just a little bit about, so as I mentioned, there is a large group, mostly in Rockland, but also some in Orange County as well, that's going for now their third contract. They're going up for renewal. It's going to take effect in October, but that means the product process has to start, really in May for them, April, May for them. If the village wanted to, and that's also a combined bid with the city of Newburgh, who, even though it's here in Orange County, is actually in Central Hudson Territory, but for your purposes, it doesn't matter much. The city of Newburgh and a couple other communities on the other side of the river as well, they're all going out to bid in May. To do that, to get up to speed with them, all you have to do is start the public outreach and education in April. So not to rush the process here, but to get started with that, you have to select an administrator, and if you want to sync up with that group, and the benefit of that is just volume. It's like, it's the whole premise here, which is that the larger group you have, the more competition you can inspire in the suppliers, and the lower price and the higher renewable content you can sort of squeeze out of that
Glenn?
process.
And how,
Yeah.
Please, Carly, go.
how big is that population cohort that we're talking about? Do you know off the top of your
It's
head?
quite large, so it's I do know off the top of my head. It's about 450,000 megawatt hours, so it's about, let's call it, maybe like 50 or 60,000 households. So not people, but house accounts, which is quite large.
Interesting. So you measure it by megawatt hours. Is that
Yeah.
Every person is a megawatt hour equivalent.
I know, I hate to speak that way, like, there's not people, there's just power, but, ultimately, the price, the competitiveness of that, like, that volume discount that I'm talking about is driven primarily through the amount of power.
Right.
Not, so you may have, you may have, for instance, in New York City, where there could be a lot of people all in tiny apartments using a very relatively small amount of power, and then, more sort of suburban communities where a relatively small number could be using quite a bit of power. So it's really driven by power and not by people.
Glenn, is Joule incentivized by keeping members engaged, keeping customers engaged and in the program, right? So put it another way, if there are 50, 60,000 households and half of them drop out
Yeah.
in month one, after you've already negotiated a rate with a third-party supplier,
Yeah.
Your business model, that's how you get paid,
Yeah.
right? So what happens if half of them drop out?
Yeah, so there's really two parts of that question is, for us, we get paid volumetrically, right? So we're incentivized to keep as many people in the program as possible. By the way, that does not mean that we pressure anybody to stay in or anything. It's far worse, frankly, to have people complain about that sort of thing, that it's hard to get out, and than it is to keep every individual in the program. But we're incentivized to have the program be as big as it can be, because we're paid volumetrically. However, the other side of that question is, what about the supplier if half the people drop out? They sign a contract, and we skipped over that slide where I really talked through it, but the contract is what's called a firm, full requirements power supply contract. And what that means is, no matter how many people participate, no matter how much power they use, they have to provide that same price no matter what. So it's their risk that 50%, now we've never seen 50% people, but as an extreme example, 50% of the people drop out, they still have to honor their commitment to deliver at the same price.
Why would they do that?
What's that?
Why would they do that?
They have a contract.
They want the business. It's really that simple, right? So when they see an RFP for 50,000 people or 450,000 megawatt hours, right? They know they're competing against their competitors to win that contract, and they know the deal with these, right? When they're bidding on CCAs, that's the deal. That always has been the deal. There's no other way to do it, because the village can't guarantee, nor Joule could guarantee, a certain number of people staying in, right? We have to provide universal access and universal, exit at all times. So that would mean that we'd be issuing an RFP in May. We'd be collecting those bids in June and making recommendations for award. Then all those letters would start going out in the middle of the summer in July. Everybody then has at least 30 days to respond to that letter. And we'd be launching here in the village or relaunching elsewhere starting October 1 of 2024.
So when we would have to release the RFP like today though to make this work, right? Because we have to keep the RFP on the street for the CCA providers for what, 30 days? And then
You mean an RFP that the village would issue to find us?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Glenn may be referring to RFP to suppliers, not administrators.
But we do have to procure the CCA administrator. Don't we have to
That's
put
the first step.
we have to put the RFP on the street for that, which we do have a draft of it. But so we would, cause our next meeting, sorry to do this, but I think this would, because we have to know whether this is real.
As you're looking that up, when is the next cohort time period?
There's a group at the end of the year, they're primarily not in ORU, they're primarily on the other side, but it's coming up, I believe, at the end of the year, so it'll be renewing January 1.
So our next board meeting is April Fool's Day,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's reorg.
that's the reorg. So we would have to, everybody would have to be really happy with the RFP on that at that time, and then we would have to issue it, and then we would probably get folks back April 29th. And then our next board meeting would be May 6th, and that's the earliest I think we could possibly approve an administrator coming on board, so we couldn't begin public engagement until May. There's no way.
I was just say about that,
Yeah.
that's of course your process, but it's not required. I mean, several municipalities do run an RFP to select an administrator. It is however not required. It's considered a special service, and since there's no
You mean professional services?
professional service, there's no payment being made by the municipality, so an RFP is not demanded, it is not required, but that's your choice, that's at your discretion, of course, so.
I think our procurement policy does require it.
Yeah.
So here's my contact information, reach out at any time, but again, if there's any questions now that we haven't covered yet, I'm happy to stay as long as you like.
Can you go back to the timeline?
Sure.
Because if we began, let's say we began public engagement in June,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have 3 months before the program launch, right? 3 months
Well,
of
you-
engagement.
If you were to start outreach and education in June, that would take you June, July. Then in August, you could start the electricity procurement process.
Okay.
You'd probably award in September, you'd send letters in October, and you'd start probably January 1, that would probably be your,
Program launch.
yeah, would be
Yeah.
program.
The earliest that we could do program.
Yeah,
launch.
that's about as fast as you can go.
So the key for you is to have your volumetrics buttoned up by May. You issue an RFP to suppliers because
Yeah,
that's,
Yeah, we
that,
sort of
that
have to
dictates
know.
the rest of your contract with that cohort.
yeah, we kind of have to know who's in and who's out by the time we issue the RFP, that's right.
And we couldn't be a part of that. Because it's the opt-out period, you have to have had 3 months of, at least 2 months of engagement before you begin the opt-out period.
Before you
And we
sign a
wouldn't want to
contract,
obviously shortchange that in any case, but.
before you sign a contract, you have to have completed the 2 months, that's right.
Oh, okay, so even, because that's still super tight, like the latest we could start engagement to make it into this cohort would be April.
Yeah, if you start in April, and which it sounds like it's not possible, but if you sign in April, you can award in June, that's right.
Yeah. Unless we had like a special meeting.
Yeah.
Are the municipalities, are they privy to the RFP responses back from suppliers?
Sure, yeah, yeah. What we'll do is when we get them back, and you can receive the bids themselves, but what we do is call them together into a pricing grid, and a review of the different bids and the suppliers' track record, and then make recommendations on that basis. Now, you can of course still review the bids themselves, but we
We get to get all the municipalities on the same page.
it's a lot of fun.
And we can't start engagement on our own.
Well, you can,
We-
not
we-
without
we
a
sh- We
CC.
can and should, but it won't count, right? Towards the.
Yeah,
Sure.
They
it's
don't
not a
think-
perfect system, let's just put it that way. But they don't consider it, they don't start that 60-day clock
Mm-hmm.
unless you have a CCA administrator in place. Yeah.
You showed us on one of your slides a number of different groups. I think there were 3 of them. Is there one of those groups that's predominantly Orange and Rockland territory? And which group was that? How many members are there?
Yeah.
And what's their timeline for renewal?
This is their timeline. This is the timeline that the majority of them are on. Then that's not including Tuxedo and Tuxedo Park are actually starting the RFP process right now. It's actually out on the street. We're collecting bids in a couple, less than 2 weeks. But the rest of our Orange and Rockland clients are on this time frame where they're gonna be issuing in May.
And that'll be for a 2-year period?
It'll likely, so the
Well, yeah,
RFP leaves that, but
roughly,
likely
right, yeah.
2-year period. Yeah.
Where is the town of Warwick at? Do we know in terms of their investigation of
Mattingly's here.
this?
You can ask Mr. Madden.
Yeah.
I don't think,
Town council.
has there been any conversation on the town level about,
I was just thinking about that, no, it has not been.
no? Though there has been,
30,000.
right, there's been
households, or
conversation
no, people.
by,
15,000.
by the supervisor when he was mayor with the village of Greenwood Lake.
They do have a climate team or group, climate smart group, I think the town
They
does.
started their Climate Smart Community Task Force.
Okay,
Right.
so, yeah, okay.
I
you talked to their
I spoke with the
lead?
last administration town board about this, and there seemed to be some questions around the opt-out model, and hadn't really progressed from there. But again, I cannot speak on
Yeah.
behalf of the town, but it may be worth a conversation.
I know we haven't spoken to them in this kind of capacity. We're happy to do that, by the way. But I know that we haven't had much progress with them.
But again, I don't think it was a full informational session. It was,
Yeah.
I went to a work session and say, this is what we're looking at in the
Right.
village. And there were more questions than I could answer.
Yeah, I know, it's tough, and we'd be happy, of course, to come and do a similar, or more elementary session, for them anytime they like.
Well, and, oh, sorry. So let's say we don't make this April deadline, right?
Yeah.
And we proceed at our own schedule, and then we begin the public outreach in June. Having this process proceed, it can be delayed, it can be expedited, it all depends on how many other entities come into the pool.
It could
You
be,
know-
it's more easily to be delayed than expedited, only in the sense that there's a pretty strict regulatory time clock, right? Things have to happen in sequence, and they have to, some have a minimum time period on them, so it's tough to go much faster than kind of the way I laid it out, but certainly it could be, take longer, yeah.
Well, yeah, and so what I meant was, there's nothing to say we can't proceed on our time frame, and then, work on getting our cohort together, and then if we don't have enough folks, we don't go out to bid, or we reject the the RFPs that do come in. You know, so there's nothing to say we shouldn't go ahead.
Worst
with
case
the
scenario, it's
process
a
now
more
anyway.
protracted education timeline, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay.
You said Tuxedo and Tuxedo Park, how many customers are there?
It's not many. I think even between the town and the village, it's more like 3,000 customers. The Tuxedo Park is tiny. It's a
And they're their
So
own cohort-
we've got
cohort?
probably that
Yeah.
as a
they're
village.
in a bigger group as well.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, and that's what we try to do. We try to combine whoever we've got that's on a similar timeline. It's for everybody's benefit, really. You know, to your point. You know. Other questions?
We would probably be 346 megawatts to your.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you,
for
yeah.
speaking with
Thank
us
you.
again.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
because I
course,
think this is the
anytime.
Glenn,
third
thank you.
time that
Yeah.
we've had your folks
Yeah,
talk to
anytime,
us.
anytime. That's our job. So thanks again for having us in.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Great.
Great. Okay, so we'll move forward with announcements. And Tom, would you take the first one?
Wait,
I'm looking for my
Yep.
So,
agenda.
can I just say one more thing
Sure,
about this? 'Cause
of course.
so the state has put together a recommended procurement and contract, like a RFP and contract.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether, Steve, have you had an opportunity to look at that yet?
Not yours, but I've seen other ones.
Okay, all right. So I think it seems like that would be the next step, would be for us to look at that. I think we have circulated it before. I think we have looked at it as a board before, but just not, you know, with the intention of proceeding
Steve, the
down
other
any
one,
path. Oh,
Steve, the other ones you've seen and worked on, have they been pretty much a carbon copy of what the state provided? So,
Well, there's a tweak here or there to make it
Yeah.
idiosyncratic to the municipality, but that aside, they're pretty standard.
Yeah.
There's, I think, 3, maybe 4 you guys out there as far as.
Yeah, that's right.
And you pick and choose between them, and, you know, Jules, well respected, they're a good one. There's a couple other.
There's
that
good
are
energy.
also-
Good energy, right?
yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, in terms of, you know, helping you get organized and helping with your education process and everything, and, you know, you'll choose one of them, and then you'll proceed with your project after that. The timeline's unfortunate on this. It would have been nice if you could have gotten in, but I don't think that's gonna happen, to be honest with you. So.
I'd rather take our time.
But the RFP for the consultants is gonna be pretty much boilerplate.
I was a little concerned about if we were even able to do this earlier timeline. The opt-out period is in the middle of the summer, and, you know, people are away, things, you know, postcards get thrown on a table, you know, it just,
Well, I have limited experience with this. Like I say, a couple municipalities have done it. The heaviest lift I've found, well, there've been some other blips in the road, I'm not gonna go there. But, is when you actually have people being told that we're instituting this program, and they're all, oh my God, we're gonna be trapped in it. Oh my God, I can't get out. It's gonna be like, you know, calling the utility, and you can't talk to anyone, and you really need a robust education period to answer the questions and concerns that your residents are going to have. And, you know, I'm sure that your consultant will help you with that, but it's, you're gonna get phone calls, you're gonna get letters.
Of course,
It's just
yeah.
how it is.
yeah,
So the longer that period, probably the better, as you
Yeah.
pointed out.
sure.
That's how I feel.
Have time at the, like, various events to, like,
Mhm.
have tables and
Yeah.
stuff.
Good, well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So, onward to announcements. Tom, would you take the first one?
Village of Warwick General Election, Tuesday, March 19, 2024. The general village election for the Village of Warwick will be held Tuesday, March 19, 2024, tomorrow, at the Goodwill Hook and Ladder Company, 25 Church Street Extension, Warwick, New York. The polls will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Candidates nominated to fill the offices of 2 trustees for 5-year terms are Mary Calora, trustee, 5-year term, and Barry Cheney, trustee, 5-year term. By order of the Board of Trustees, Village of Warwick, Raina Abramson, Village Clerk, dated February 15th, 2024.
Great. And Carly, would you take the next one?
Sure. The village's Easter egg hunt is sponsored by the Village of Warwick Recreation Department and the Warwick Fire Department. It will take place on Saturday, March 30th, 2024 at Veterans Memorial Park. The start time is 10 a.m. sharp. There will be 3 age groups. 3 and under is one age group. Group 2 is 4 to 6 years old. And group 3 is 7 to 12 years old. So come see the Easter Bunny at the egg hunt. Prizes will be given out for finding the golden egg for each age group. And for admission, please bring a non-perishable food item to support the Warwick Food Pantry.
Thank you. And Barry, do you want to do the next?
Village of Warwick hydrant flushing. The Village of Warwick will be flushing fire hydrants starting on April 15th, 2024 from approximately 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. This will be done every evening until all the fire hydrants are completed. This is done during the evening to cause as little inconvenience as possible for the village residents. The water may be discolored, but will clear up and is not harmful. You may also experience minor pressure problems while the fire hydrants are being flushed in your area.
Good, thank you. And would you take the next one too as well?
Sure.
Sorry to leave you out.
Village of Warwick brush disposal schedule. The Village of Warwick will again have the brush disposal program. A valid picture ID showing village residency will be required at the site. Only Village of Warwick residents will be allowed to dispose of brush at the disposal site. The disposal area is located at the Village of Warwick Department of Public Works site in Memorial Park. No commercial operators will be permitted. Brush cannot exceed 6 inches in diameter. Bagged leaves will be accepted, paper only. That's paper bags only. No grass clippings are allowed. Hours of operation, it's April through November, Saturdays and Sundays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Site will be closed all holidays and Applefest Sunday. So there's a little change this year. Usually we take July, August, and September, only 2 weekends a month. And this year, we're going to offer that service available to the residents every weekend. It's been, the changeover has not been easy for, basically the residents remembering that it changes during the course of the summer.
Yes, okay, good.
Could I do one more?
Sure, of course.
Okay.
Yes, oh,
Orange County Department of Motor Vehicles mobile office will be in Warwick at the CVS parking lot entrance on Tuesday, March 26th from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. It will be closed from noon till 1 for lunch, and you're able to do vehicle transactions, motor vehicle transactions during those times. The only thing that's not available would be passports and anything that requires testing.
great, thank you. And under correspondence, we have a letter from the President and CEO of Bon Secours Charity Health Systems, Mary Leahy, MD, MHA, informing the Village of Warwick of the relocation of the Sleep Institute from 74 North Main Street in Florida, New York to St. Anthony's Community Hospital. And also a letter from the Warwick Meadows Property Office Manager, Colleen Daly. They're making a request for us to utilize the, what is it? Sorry. To utilize the, what is it?
Street sweeper. Street sweeper.
Thank you. Street sweeper on parts of their property. I think that will have to be a discussion for a later meeting, or a later date. And then a letter from New York State Department of Transportation regarding the Route 17A 94 pavement resurfacing and improvements, which was actually a response to our Senator James Skoufis Senator Skoufis on our behalf made multiple requests of them, and it was a mixed bag in terms of response, and we'll keep you more posted about that.
Mayor, what is
yes.
what is the next step there? Because I looked at the letter, it just looked like no.
Yes, basically, no.
Very
much what it
lazy
was.
nose.
Yes.
Actually, they're-
The state gave absolutely no guidance on what they,
The next step is for us to respond to the lazy nose. So that's really where we are.
And the process now is calling for the project to go out to bid in the fall of this year, and it would be starting next year. So they're moving right along with the design at this point.
Right.
And they're saying any changes will slow it down. I mean, that's,
Some
No
some
context
changes
there.
are more intense than others. So yes. And then we also have letters from village residents regarding 16 Elm Street. And under discussion tonight, Village Code Article 11, cross-connection control revisions. And Barry, do you want to lead us in that?
Yeah, I think we can be pretty brief tonight. Basically, our code is more strict, which we're allowed to have, than the state code. So we recognize this. I gave the code, our code, they're aware of it, to the county health department. And the county health department basically came back and said that, pointed out that some portions of the village code, and one of them requires all service connections being required to have backflow prevention devices, and every device to be reviewed by the Orange County Department of Health is not something we have seen in any other municipality in Orange County, and that they would be in support of the village revising the code to align with current New York State Department of Health policies. So we'd be looking to make changes relative to that particular item, but also where backflow preventers are required, we have a more strict requirement to use what's called an RPZ unit. And in residential applications, it's kind of an onerous requirement because the RPZs need to have some sort of a drain below them. And so most homeowners don't have that drain in the area where they would need to have the backflow device, and they would. This application mostly occurs when somebody wants to put in an irrigation system for their flowers and or their lawns, the sprinkler system. So I believe we're trying to go with this with the board's concurrence would be to remove that requirement for the RPZ unit for residential properties and allow a double check valve, which is in the eyes of the state at least an appropriate application. So I wanted to kind of gauge the sense of the board before I dove in and started editing our cross-connection control law.
Are there any like technical or risk implications with shifting?
The state doesn't seem to, or the county health department doesn't seem to think so relative to the state health law in regard to this.
But so we are holding the valves that we require currently are of a higher standard.
Yes,
They would,
yes,
they
yes.
do a better job of preventing backflow.
I couldn't answer that. The
Okay.
state obviously thinks it's appropriate.
The residential, because I know that we do have some properties that have those issues, don't we? But they,
Right.
yeah.
I think there are a number of applications that are sitting in Goshen pending right now with this question.
RPZ, reduced pressure zone.
Yes.
I don't feel qualified to.
Well, that's
more
why, I mean,
information.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I went to the
Trust
you
your
know,
judgment.
county and asked them to,
But are they,
talk to us and tell us about it.
yeah, are they familiar with some of the issues that some of our homeowners have had?
I think so, because that's why they're sitting on applications.
in terms of like the backups I'm talking about? Are they
Well, that's,
familiar?
this is water, that's sewer,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
There shouldn't be any opportunity for cross-connection with
Yeah.
those
Right.
Okay.
backups.
Okay.
When you say onerous, what do you mean? I mean,
Well, if a resident was required to have an RPZ to serve their irrigation system, then they would have to provide some sort of drainage underneath where the unit is.
Right.
And in order to do that, they're jackhammering their basement and they're putting a pipe out through a wall.
Do we know why this was why there's a difference in the first place? Is it that
I'm
This-
not clear on that now.
okay? Like, did they relax their standards? Did we have
I
like a road
don't
engineer?
believe they relaxed their standards. I think at some point, and I'm not sure of the timeline, I don't know off the top of my head. You know, the village decided that was the way it should go. And it's been like that, but yet
Is it being
doesn't seem to
practiced?
be practiced, no.
no. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's
You know,
I think the
either
biggest
nothing's
issue.
getting done,
Yeah.
or it's getting done, I mean,
Incorrectly
without our,
or-
incorrectly or without our knowledge.
Yeah.
It just seems strange that the village would adopt a standard that's not a state standard or a county standard.
That's stricter? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go stricter, you know, there's, every state law is.
Wouldn't it make sense to stay
yes,
in
it
line?
is. I don't know, I'm not sure why this was done, and maybe it wasn't done with understanding the implications of doing it.
Right.
You know, I mean, it
Right.
would sound like a good idea at the time, okay, we're doing something that's more than is necessary according to the state, so that should be a good thing, but when you look at the implications,
It's more expensive and more work for the
and
homeowner.
we're better off, I mean, the double check valve's adequate, it doesn't require the drainage, so we're better off with somebody who has an irrigation system with a double check valve than we are somebody who has an irrigation system and there's no backflow device.
Right. Right. So what would be the next step?
I guess the next step is if the board is in general concurrence with moving forward with this, I'll work on changing the code to a
Drafting
red
it.
line and
Okay.
we'll bring it back.
Okay.
Does the state also require an engineer to officially submit plans for
I don't,
irrigation backflow?
I don't believe, well, yes, for backflow devices, there's an application process that goes to the county. I'm not clear, it's definitely, I definitely know it's for the RPZs, but I'm not sure about the double check valve. And I think there's a different level and requirement relative to annual testing and, I guess it's a maintenance, basically every 5 years with the RPZs. You have to pretty much tear them apart and replace component parts.
If there are things you said on the desk in Orange County, are they time sensitive? Are we working on a timeline?
I think at this point, there's no critical need to move forward for any of what's sitting in Goshen. But I think from a comfort standpoint, the sooner we can move this forward and get it done and get the double check valves installed where they should be, as opposed to holding off on maybe RPZ applications, that it's more protective of our water system.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. So I think the consensus is for you to move forward.
Move forward.
so,
Lucky
okay.
me.
Yeah. Just what you need.
And
As long as you get reelected tomorrow.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I'll do it anyway.
Okay, good, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
Are you able to share that note with I'm just interested in learning more about the
Sure.
difference between these and what,
Yeah, yes,
you
I'll
know.
I'll give you the correspondence with the health department.
Yeah. Okay. We're at public comment on agenda items only. If anybody would like to speak to the board, this is your moment. Yes,
Can I speak about my letter?
of course, yes.
Thank you. My name's Colleen Daly, I'm the property manager for Warwick Meadows.
Yes.
So the letter's there for everybody to read.
Yes.
Which I don't need to read for you. I just wanna take a brief moment just to say that we're happy to, be able to work with the village and all of you together. And I'm really trying to encourage the residents of Warwick Meadows to equally participate in everything that has to do with the village, because we don't wanna be the little orphan out in the side of the community now, and I want them to realize that they are part of the village, and to participate more, and
Sure.
to always make sure that, that they understand that maybe we can rely, and we can kind of, hopefully, know that you guys have our back with things that we have that are out of our control, and that's it. I'm not a resident there, I just have a fiduciary responsibility to the members and to the residents of that. So as an HOA and not-for-profit, we kind of do have to, from time to time, seek help from you guys in
Right.
order to see if we can't, fortify our infrastructure or do anything else of that nature. So, in being with the spirit of, community and whatnot, I sent that letter as a request, and I hope you guys will, take a serious look at it. And of course, we're never looking for something for nothing. I don't know if there's gonna be a fee or whatever, even
Right.
if it's doable. But just not knowing, I still had to ask.
Well, thank you for coming
Yeah,
tonight.
thank you.
We appreciate that, and we definitely will look at it. Tonight, we have kind of a packed agenda, as you
Yeah.
can see.
Yeah.
But we can put it under discussions for the next meeting.
Perfect.
I think that was the plan, so,
All
and we can go from there.
All right,
And
great.
and the board can look at it carefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
And I
Thank
thank
you.
you for what you're doing in terms of engaging the population there and making them understand that they truly are part of a remarkable village. And-
Yeah, and I really am. I do encourage them to participate in everything as far as it goes, even, the clean recycling initiatives that you guys have. I work very closely with Boris and the DPW and everybody else. I mean, you guys have a great team.
Thank you.
So, I will say that. And they definitely, should be commended for their work, because we're a little bit of a basket case up there sometimes. And I will say that they are excellent, and super attentive to us. So I do appreciate everything we've been able to lean on you guys for. So,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
take care.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? Okay, we're gonna move on
Can we
to,
take like a 2-minute break, because
we've been doing this, yeah, sure. We'll take a 2-minute break. We'll be back here in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Intermission. if you
Intermission, right?
Do you need me to stay beyond the
No.
intermission?
I don't think so, John.
So, just so I understand, what's being proposed with the street sweep?
They would like us to go
Sweep
into
the streets.
private roads, and
This is kind of an issue.
it is, yeah. That's why I wanted to discuss it with the board if,
Thanks, Chief.
under discussions. Oh, man.
So how was the St. Patrick's Day parade?
Oh, it was great.
Very well attended.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of people out there.
It's
Yes.
a little chilly.
It was very nice.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. The sun was out, and, it was at 11. It was,
Okay, that's not too bad. How many people do you think altogether?
There's a lot of people there, I think. The parade?
it's hard to guess. I mean, it's.
I'm so bad
I mean,
at
they line
judge.
both sides of the street, from the hospital all the way up to Elm Street. Yeah.
I'd love to see a community participate in stuff like that. It gives you a real sense of place, you know what I mean?
There's people from all over Warwick too. A lot of Greenwood Lake people and Pine Islands. It's nice.
And it's, there's a large parade in Goshen, I believe. So this is kind of a bit of a more hometown,
Secondary.
yeah.
Yeah,
Version.
Shotgun Club by me does a Hamilton walk,
Okay.
Oh,
It's
okay.
always nice. They can have some excesses from time to time, it can be a bit of an issue. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But still nice.
Well, the parade ended up at yesterday's,
Yeah.
so,
I think maybe after the meeting we can,
yeah.
not now.
It wasn't our
Still have more
parade.
public comment.
It wasn't our parade, it was the,
But we allowed it.
we allowed it,
We
yeah.
allowed the route,
Yeah.
so we approved the route.
Yeah.
There's a real base for it, you know,
Okay.
because of the place over here.
You guys ready to?
Motions.
Just for, we had, it wasn't closed before.
Tired.
And I'm afraid we have to go into executive session, so I'm sorry about that, guys.
We
Yeah,
can always vote no.
yeah, exactly, no.
If the motion
No,
fails.
thank you.
never even
I
occurred
need a
to me,
nap.
I'm gonna plug
I'm
in
very
my
nefarious.
Okay.
computer
Yep.
behind you,
Yep.
just so you know.
I'm like right up on this.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
You're-
That's why I was just.
Can this go down?
Guess so, but then I'll be like,
It's on the right side. Yeah.
It's fairly new,
No.
so it should last.
yeah, it should, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at.
I'll be fine. I just don't wanna press it.
Press the panic button. Is that what you're okay?
That's so brave.
Okay. So, thank you, everyone, for letting us take a break, and we'll move forward with the meeting. Do you have to put this back on?
We're good.
We're good? Okay. So we're going, move ahead with motions, and trustee Cheney.
Motion to advertise and receive bids to construct the water treatment system for well number 3.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to grant permission to DPW employees Matthew Santiago, Andrew D'Alessandro, and Matt Hahn to attend bucket truck certification training on April 25th, 2024 at Maybrook Senior Center, Maybrook, New York, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at a cost of $175 per person. Training is provided by Lee Drake, DBA Safely Done. The village bucket truck will be taken to the training. Funds are appropriated in budget code A5110.4750.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
You know, I want to back up just one second on the first motion to just, it was in the advertiser. There was a press release from Congressman Pat Ryan's office, but this project is going to be, in some ways, almost, I'm hoping, totally funded, depending upon the bids, by a grant, a community project grant through his office. And we were awarded $959,000. Started at 1.6, but then it got shaved a little along the way in Congress, but that's okay. We're very happy and very pleased that we received that grant, because it's going to be a very important infrastructure project for us to get done. So, okay,
Number
onward.
3, motion to hire Stephen Berger to the position of seasonal Department of Public Works laborer to perform the duties of brush pile attendant at Veterans Memorial Park at a rate of $16.50 per hour for the period of April through November 2024 during designated brush pile operation dates and times. Start date to be determined by the DPW supervisor, Mike Moser.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to hire Sydney Introini, Francis Keneally, and Alyssa Nealon as part of the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 special event staff at a rate of $15 per hour for the Easter egg hunt, per the recommendation of Village of Warwick Recreation Director Ron Introini.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant Village of Warwick taxi cab license to John Knowles, owner of Warwick Taxi LLC, through May 31st, 2024, per Village Code. Is that the right date?
No, I think it should be 2025.
Yeah.
No, it is supposed to be 2024,
And we approved this last year as well, right?
2 years ago. There's a little bit of a lapse.
Oh, okay, and then it'll
Okay.
be
They'll have to
redone?
reapply.
Okay,
Okay.
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 Per Village Code Chapter 126, proof of New York State Department of Motor Vehicles Driver's license, New York State livery registration, and Village of Warwick background check and license fees have been received. Warwick Police Department background check has been completed and approved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Adult Kickball League to use the football field and over 35 field in Veterans Memorial Park from May 10th, 2024 through July 19th, 2024 on Friday nights from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. except during the Fireman's Carnival. Request includes use of Memorial Park football / over 35 field lights, use of speakers, electricity, and restrooms. Request also includes permission for one food truck to be parked on the pavement in proximity to the over 35 field during the allotted games. All events must be in coordination with other organizations who regularly use the park for practice and games. Completed park permit, proof of insurance, security deposit, and fees have been received pending proper insurance requirements from participating food truck.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions?
There is a caveat there, so just to be clear. The food truck isn't really a food truck. So what our idea was, is we have a mobile small shed or shack for storage during the week for our supplies. And then at night, we have two young ladies who are trying to do a pilot program. We would offer a concession of packaged goods the money would be used towards their sports program.
Okay.
So, but there was no food truck, there's no cooking or anything, so I could go under the health department and get that approved, but we weren't going in that direction. So it's really more about our storage, and then at night, during that time that the girls would serve packaged goods or sodas, we're trying to keep everyone on our side, because it gets really busy on the other side with the youth baseball. And so we just want to make sure that we're speaking on the same thing, that was all.
Like a mobile concession?
I'll show it if you want, I have it.
I don't know, unless the board really needs to
good.
see.
Yeah.
I'm good, thank you.
It says Big Joe's.
Okay. 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 Any other questions or? Okay. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Chamber to hold the Warwick Valley Farmers Market in the South Street parking lot on Sundays from May 12th, 2024 through November 24th, 2024, with the exclusion of Applefest Sunday. The parking lot will be used from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., with the event open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Request includes an additional Earth Day market on Sunday, April 21st, 2024. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Question.
Yes.
Is there any change in the setup that they're proposing? It's gonna be set up
looks
the
the s-
same as,
It looks the same as
Previously.
last year.
Right.
That's what I
Um,
looked at. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
and then they mentioned the Earth Day market. What, do we know what that's supposed to entail? I mean, I looked at it, I really couldn't.
This is here.
There
if we
wasn't
have
much
questions.
information. From what I understand, it's more of a theme, but it does occur on one of the normal Sundays, so they're not asking for an additional day.
It doesn't start until May
May.
12th.
So it's
They're
an
asking
earlier,
for it
Today's
in
April
April.
an
21st.
earlier
That's
day.
the early
Right.
one.
Okay, and then there was also mentioned in their letter of a Easter holiday market,
That's in May.
right?
I have to get to that letter.
The last paragraph, we thank you in advance for your cooperation over the years, Farmers Market, and look forward to seeing you at the Easter holiday market and on opening day of the farm. Did they, I don't know,
What day is Easter this year?
Easter's the
March
31st?
31st.
Oh, so maybe we just need to check on that. So would we go?
We're not giving them permission for the Easter holiday market in our resolutions.
Right.
But we won't be meeting before then either.
Maybe, I'm wondering if that holiday market would be on Kukin slot, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, like they do on Applefest.
And they do a winter market sometimes there as well.
They used to, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they do
Nice attention to detail.
Yeah,
I
really.
didn't see that in there.
Oh,
Jen, do you want to follow up on that?
Yes, isn't it normally in Kukin, the Easter holiday?
I don't remember
I don't
Easter
remember
holiday.
an Easter one.
But, I mean, they didn't request it in the letter, they just mentioned it,
Right.
Yeah,
so
I think
I would
we,
assume it doesn't require our permission.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think we have to base it on, you know, what they actually requested,
The application.
yeah, in the application, so. So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I'll reach out to
Karen,
Karen.
from the chamber?
Oh, okay.
Karen Winchell?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna reach out to
Was it Cheryl?
Cheryl?
Cheryl Wagowski, or both. Okay. About the Easter market. Okay, where are we?
Motion to close Bank Street on Sunday, July 14th, 2024 from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the benefit of the Warwick Valley Farmers Market 30th anniversary celebration.
Second.
Question, what's the need to do this on
It's-
that particular date?
It's their 30th anniversary, and they want to, you know, kind of have tables out and have food tastings and, you know, just to expand the market a little bit more.
Okay, because that wasn't explained in
Yeah.
any of the,
And I did reach out to Peck's Liquor, and they had no problem with it at all.
good, that was my second question, so thank you for being proactive.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Wickham Works to use the east side of Stanley Deming Park from 8 a.m. on Friday, May 31st, 2024, through Monday, June 3rd, 2024, for the 2024 Too Good to Toss event. Request includes use of the basketball court and lawn area around the handball court, use of restrooms and water fountains, the setup of tents and tables for the duration of the event. Request also includes 18 parking spaces near the entrance of the basketball court to be reserved for drop-off and pickups only. Request also includes one food truck to be parked on the grass between the creek and the handball court on the west side of the park. Village of Warwick DPW to provide 15 orange parking cones, reflective vests for parking volunteers, 10 to 12 garbage cans, recycling bins to be placed on the basketball courts and around the food truck, designated parking in the grass behind the basketball courts in coordination with DPW Supervisor Mike Mosier, and the pickup of leftover items on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 by the Village of Village of Warwick DPW. Village of Warwick to contribute 1/2 the total cost of the event, approximately $1,768.69. Completed park permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received, pending proper insurance requirements from participating food truck.
Second.
Okay. And it's the cost of the tent that we were paying for, not the cost of the event, correct? I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay, we have a second. Any other?
Just a question, I know in the past, an effort's been made to try and get an organization to come in and kind of look at the leftovers and see if they wanted any. And I know there have been problems in the past with that process, and I'm just wondering whether it's been reconsidered for this year.
Peyton Swenson is in charge of what happens on the Monday. She has told me that she is looking into, the various organizations that might come. Unfortunately, they change from season to season, so she hasn't updated me yet as to who she has to collect. But
Okay.
that's always the intention,
Yeah.
is that there will be zero waste, so there
Yeah.
will be nothing other than cardboard and, recyclables to be collected.
All right, I appreciate the continued effort to try and make that happen. I know it's been problematic in the past, in terms of scheduling, to get them there at a with a reasonable response time, so. But much appreciated, so I'm good with it.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Community Center to hold the Warwick Pride Parade on Sunday, June 9th, 2024. The parade will step off at 1:30 p.m. with lineup beginning at the Community Center as per their letter received on February 23rd, 2024. The parade route will be as follows: Hamilton Avenue to Orchard Street, left onto Oakland Avenue and Main Street, proceed up Main Street, right on South Street, left on High Street, right onto Forrester, arriving at Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion at approximately 2:30 p.m. for the Warwick's Pride Celebration event. Completed facility use permit, security deposit, and proof of insurance have been received. The parade route has been approved by the Town of Warwick Police Department. The Warwick Fire Department and EMS have been notified of the event.
Second.
Any questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Community Center to use Veterans Memorial Park for a Warwick Pride Celebration event on Sunday, June 9th, 2024. Event set up to begin at 10 a.m. with the event taking place between 2:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Cleanup to be completed by 6:30 p.m. Request includes use of the Memorial Park Pavilion, restrooms, electricity, setup of a pop-up tent, portable tables and chairs, temporary decorations, use of the McFarland Drive parking lot, use of the large grassy area to the right of the over 35 field, and use of the adjacent parking lot. DPW to provide 4 garbage cans, 100 chairs, and 4 large tables. Completed facility use permit, security deposit, and proof of insurance have been received.
Okay.
Second.
A quick question.
Yes.
The restrooms, so we're opening them, the ones right by the
Pavilion.
pavilion?
Yeah.
Okay, for this.
That's what.
Actually, we're working on potentially automatic locks on those, you know, that, as in Stanley Deming Park, too.
So they'd be accessible more than
Oh,
just
got, without
when
someone
we
there with a
open
key.
it.
Got it, okay.
Okay, so we have a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Warwick Youth Football and Cheerleading to use the Veterans Memorial Park football field and the area between the over 35 field and parking lot for practice and games from April 1st, 2024 to November 20th, 2024. Request includes use of the field lights for the season and in the event of rain, use of the Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion for the cheer teams. It is the responsibility of Warwick Youth Football and Cheerleading to enforce that parking is in the designated parking lot and not in the grass on the entrance roads. The event is in coordination with the other organizations that regularly use the park for practice and games. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, security deposit, and Memorial Park football / over 35 field light fee have been received.
Okay.
Second,
Question.
just, you know, a question, because it's been a ongoing problem for years. It's addressed in the motion relative to the parking at along the entrance road. And I guess my feeling is that, you know, we should have some sort of a plan from them as to how they're going to address that issue. I mean, there's supposed to be no parking on the entrance road from Memorial Park into DPW, and yet they're in there parked on both sides. You can, you know, barely get through. People are bringing trailers in there. If DPW for some reason had to get out, it can be difficult. And so I think we need their assistance in being the agent that directs the traffic where we want to see it parked.
Should that be part of the facilities use permit at this point, maybe? Or,
I think this is, from my point of view, this is special to their use of it. And maybe it's just a special requirement that we ask them to provide how they're going to do it, so that, you know, there's something tangible we can look at if we go there and see them parked all over the place and say, well, you said you were going to have and do this, this, and this.
There's also been routinely people parking in the handicap parking spots.
Without handicap.
Yeah.
so in the motion, it says it is the responsibility of Warwick Youth Football and Cheerleading to enforce the parking in the designated parking lot and not in the grass or the entrance roads. But then what you're asking actually is for a plan from them.
I think we should go back to them and ask for a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
The resolution's fine as it is,
Right.
because they have to do that, but I think, from my point of view, I'd be more comfortable knowing that they thought it out and they'd come up with a way to use the resources they have available to them to, you know, direct the traffic where it belongs.
And some communication probably to the parents and the
The issue generally is, I won't say solely, but generally is the out-of-towners.
Right.
So they're, you know, Minnesing's coming here to play a game, Newburgh's coming here to play a game, and it's the ones who, you know, somebody parks, somebody does it the first car.
Right.
And then everybody thinks
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
So I think what we can do is when we write them a letter saying, yes, your motion is passed, and you have the permission to do this, but we would also like this other level of a plan and coordination of it with, you know,
right.
so, okay, we can do that. So we have a second, all in favor?
Aye. Motion to grant permission to the Union AME Church Missionary Society to use Railroad Green on Saturday, June 8th, 2024 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a rain date of Saturday, June 15th, 2024 for a community health fair. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Sorry. Excuse me. Motion to close Railroad Avenue on Saturday, June 8th, 2024 with a rain date of Saturday, June 15th, 2024 from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the benefit of the Union AME Community Church Health Fair.
Second, question. In looking at the application, it didn't seem as though they requested anything more than the parking places along the park, and not closure of the entire road. Did something occur in terms of a discussion that
Jen, do you?
changed
Not
that?
that I'm aware of.
No. I know that they're going to have fire trucks, they're going to have
Ambulance,
the
they
ambulance.
showed that on their
Right.
their drawing,
Right,
but they didn't suggest that.
and last year they did close the street off. I don't know, that was,
We did.
yeah,
We
Do-
approved that.
Is there anything else going on in the village? Because that's what didn't allow the May Mental Health Fair to
Right.
close their streets, because there's an event,
right. There's the Maker's Market.
right?
And they did ask to close the street on their special request,
I'm sorry.
Railroad Green Street. From 8 to 3,
In the
But then-
letter?
in the application.
But then in the application under section 4 for event information, it says, please explain parking plan for the event. Participants will use parking spots on the street of Railroad Green. Guests will find street parking.
It does say Railroad Green Street closure. Special request.
Road closure, yeah. Yeah, I see it.
Is it on the application?
Yeah, it's on the
Where?
application on page 5. Road closure, Railroad
Oh.
Green Street.
Okay.
But they're also talking about parking on Railroad Ave.
What
Well,
page
they
is
were
it?
gonna do that for the ambulance and I guess fire truck and
Yeah.
whatever else was
It's the
gonna be.
participants.
Okay,
Would that
so
be-
they asked for it. Okay. Never mind.
Okay. So we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
That's me.
Tom.
Okay, motion to appoint counsel Elizabeth Cassidy as attorney to the Village of Warwick Planning Board.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Then should I go to number 17 or?
Yes, we have two, it would be
Well, it's
16 and
Is
17.
16 in session or no? Is 16 in executive?
I don't.
No, 16's a motion.
So 16, motion to hire Sandra Alfonso to the position of full-time provisional billing clerk, billing control clerk in accordance with civil service requirements with the start date of April 2, 2024.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint counsel from Naughton and Torrey LLP as alternative attorney to the Village of Warwick Planning Board.
Okay.
Second?
Question. I noticed that the backup information that they gave, that was provided to us, was Naughton and Torrey's application or response to our request relative to being appointed as the planning board.
Right.
Or the planning board attorney.
Right.
Did we speak to them
Yes,
about
I had
this?
I had a verbal conversation with Ashley today,
And they were good.
and they were very appreciative.
And the fee is going to be what they stated for their fee as planning board attorney.
Correct, because it's similar to what they charge as ZBA.
Yeah, ZBA. Well, they're certainly more than well qualified.
Yes, they are, yeah. Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Reports. Okay, trustee Cheney.
I'm good. In case anybody's forgotten, the mobile DMV, this is the last time I'm gonna be able to do this, will be at the CVS parking lot a week from tomorrow.
Okay. And trustee Foster?
No reports from me tonight.
Okay. And trustee Kalura?
I have an event to announce with the Warwick Historical Society Thursday, March 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. will be Tavern Night that will be held at Baird's Tavern on 103 Main Street. Participants will have access to the beautiful museum rooms in the upstairs and attic of the tavern. Tickets are on sale now and cost $45 for Warwick Historical Society members and $55 for non-members. And at the door. To purchase your tickets, you can call 845-986-3236.
Great, thank you. And Tom?
I'll just reiterate the announcement from the beginning that tomorrow is the village general election. 2 trustee spots up for election, and it's at the Church Street Firehouse from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow.
Thank you.
Great,
That's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I really don't have any report tonight, but we'll go to public comments for non-agenda items. Tom, you got anything to say to us? Come on.
Not tonight.
Thank you for joining us
It's my
and for
pleasure.
sticking it out with
Yeah.
us.
You know, and I tried last meeting too, but it just got a little too late for me.
Yeah,
But great meeting, guys.
By the way, I want to appreciate that Tom reached out proactively to me and said, what can we do to help from the town level and getting that communication going. So I thought it was
that's great.
So
That's
thank you,
awesome.
Tom.
That's what we'd like to
Yeah.
hear, yeah. And I also want to comment that I've really enjoyed working with Jesse. I think he's doing a great job. It's been pretty seamless in many ways, but he's also bringing new energy to his position, and I'm sure you guys feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a very hard worker.
He's a very hard worker, yeah. And he really has only the love for his community in mind. It's very clear, which is something that Mike Sweeten had, and so he emulates that.
Thank you.
And he's certainly spreading his wings. I serve on the Orange County Soil and Water Conservation District Board, and we had a meeting with the 4 supervisors that are involved in the Black Dirt region. And, you know, Jesse was there being very supportive, interested, a little bit of a learning curve for him, certainly, but doing what he can to support the needs of the Black Dirt farmers here in Warwick. So.
That's good, that's great. Okay, we do have to go into executive session. Any final comments from the board? I'm sorry.
No,
No.
thank you.
And if you could
Aye.
make that.
Okay, make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
And then also this, as to seek.
To seek confidential advice of counsel.
Okay.
You want to let folks know we're not going to do any business.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will be going into executive session momentarily, and when we come back, there will be no more village business or motions that will be enacted. So we will then close our regular meeting. So-
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, all in favor. I was waiting for somebody to say nay.
I know, I was waiting for Barry to say it.
We planted that seed.
Yeah, I know, really, Barry.
Sorry.